Welcome to Chi-Town Lowdown. We are back with you after week 8 of NFL action. The Bears and the Commanders played last Sunday, and it was a heartbreaker of a game. A lot of anticipation going into it around whether or not Jaden Daniels would play with his rib injury. He did end up playing, and the Bears ended up losing on a last-second Hail Mary. Let's just dive right into it. I know we've had some time for our, to work through our emotions, our thoughts. I think if we would have done this podcast immediately following the game, it might have gone a little bit differently. But maybe now we've had some time to think on it a little bit more. You'll probably still hear some emotion here, but Luke, let's hand it over to you and let you kick us off on this segment here.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Obviously, a very slow game there for the first 3 quarters. A lot of defense, a lot of inefficiency on offense for the Bears in particular. Obviously, the fourth quarter was very different. It really started to heat up. Both teams kind of started moving the ball a little more freely in the fourth, and it really looked like it was just going to be one of those ones that we squeaked out at the end. But obviously, that is not how it went. The things that stick out to me are what seemed to be a lack of preparation coming off a bye week and a lack of plan. It just didn't seem like the offense in particular, obviously, had a plan. And as I thought about it after the game had ended and the following days, the thing that keeps popping into my mind as it relates to the offense in particular revolves around Shane Waldron. And it seems like he is the kid in school that he eats his boogers because he thinks the other kids are going to like him for it. Right? Like, first it comes out he doesn't do scripts. I can wrap my head around not doing a script. Scripting plays, it's a very trendy topic right now in the NFL offensively. It's like, what's your first 15? He's like, well, I don't have a first 15. Okay, well, you're a contrarian. You're stepping outside of the box. You're allowing the flow of the game to determine your play calls, not necessarily just a preset list of plays that you're just going to ignore everything that's going on in the game and just run your plays. Coming into this game off of a bye week, your biggest game of the year, obviously there's a ton of hype going into this because of the two quarterbacks, the two rookies. Once we found out Daniels was playing, it was very exciting. And we came out and just laid an egg for the first 3 quarters and could not do anything. If you don't have a script, that's one thing, but you got to have a plan. And it seemed like we were lacking a plan, an identity. We weren't running the ball as well. I think Swift still ended up with 100+ yards in this game, if I recall. Peek box score real quick. Yeah, he had 129 yards, 7 yards a pop, which is great, but it's just stagnation. And it was a lack of explosives in the pass game.
It almost felt like Caleb week 1. He acted like he had no one to throw to. And I wish I saw that.
It was rust almost, as opposed to coming off a bye and being fresh.
Well, Eberflus did say, I said this on our video, that he was nervous. And maybe it rubbed off. Like, he was nervous going into the bye on a hot streak with rookie quarterback. And now this happened. So, I don't know. I mean, I agree with you, though. After a bye, a good coaching staff would
you win those games. I mean, you just win. You win those games, and I mean, obviously, the elephant in the room is the last play of the game, and losing that way is awful. In addition to that, there's the Tyreek Stevenson stuff that's just like really, really, really hard to stomach. I think he's a good player. He's still very young. He's in his second year. It's obviously unacceptable to do what he did in that situation. I have a very forgiving heart, and the apology that he issued, it felt genuine to me. It felt like someone who realized he had made a mistake. The thing is that wasn't his only issue in this game, and he's a temperamental guy. He'd already been called for a personal foul for shoving his finger in someone's face mask. Yeah, penalties were huge in this game.
Yeah,
I mean, just you can't. That's another thing. Coming off a bye, there should be no penalties. There shouldn't be any, right? Like, I mean, like, what are you doing?
The one that picking noses. I think he picked the guy's nose, right? He got in there. Was that Tyreek? I couldn't remember, but
Tyreek did get a personal foul for sticking his fingers in a guy's face mask, and like, he is a guy that if you pay attention to like the finer details, he's a guy who's constantly jawing throughout games. He could have more penalties called against him if they were looking for it. I think that will change. I do think he is going to take a more serious approach to his in-game behavior and how he conducts himself on the field moving forward. He can be a valuable asset to this team, playing alongside Johnson on the other side. So he's got a spot here. Like, stay true to your word, be better. They could have won this game. We could be 5-2 right now going to play the Cardinals. We're still in a good spot at 4-3, but learn from your mistakes. Waldron, get your head out of your ass and just figure out what the hell you're doing. Don't hand the ball off to Doug Kramer. Let him keep doing what he's been doing and creating holes. Like, you had a thing, and then you try to just make it something that it's not. Like, just keep doing what works. And you don't have to throw some special wrinkle in there. The last thing that I would note that was like a cherry on top of everything was the new Chicago Sports Network. I forget what it is, like CHSN or something like that. I follow them on Instagram, and one of the Chicago beat reporters made a statement saying something about Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Lions, being that the Bears were interested in getting him as a head coach in the offseason. Obviously, it's not like the Bears can just be, I want you come here. Like, it's obviously a two-way street. Johnson has to, like, be inclined to come here. I really hope that was just like nothing serious, and that they didn't have a real opportunity to go get him, because if you watch football, take a peek at the Lions the last few weeks. God damn, they are good. That is how an offense should run. And that is a guy who does have the ability to incorporate these little wrinkles into the offense. Like, you want to have fun, hand the ball off to a big guy. Well, let's make sure your two running backs, one of which it was originally a Bear, and we just couldn't figure out how to help him be a decent player, and now he runs for 100 yards every week. One of their running backs that runs for 100 yards every week.
And throws touchdown passes.
And throws touchdowns. It's incredible. I got to stop, though. I've gone for like 6 minutes straight. Yeah. So you guys give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I think where a few areas where the Commanders outplayed us. Coaching. Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury obviously had the upper hand on their Chicago Bears counterparts in Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron. And you can look at both of these teams, and there's a lot of similarities. New quarterback running the offense, new offensive coordinators. Dan Quinn's in his first year as head coach. Eberflus is in his
third.
Is it his third year now? So, yeah, still fairly new. Obviously, Dan Quinn has had NFL head coach experience and been successful, taking a team to the Super Bowl. But it was pretty glaring how underweight we were in that matchup. And that is disheartening because that's not something that you're not going to see change in that from tweaking things at practice. Coaches coach the way that they do. And something that's been disappointing to this point in the week has been the accountability that Eberflus has taken on for this loss. He's pointing a lot of fingers at players, and really that's just unacceptable. And now what you're seeing is players coming out and defending themselves because they feel that they're under fire from their coaching staff, which is never what you want to see. You don't want to create internal tension in a locker room. And you look at all the great teams or the teams that are doing really, really well this year, and you're not seeing that. You're not seeing that with the Lions. You're not seeing that with the Commanders. These teams seem to be really on the same page at a lot of different levels, and they look like they're having fun out there. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves throughout the season. I think this could be a very pivotal. That last game could have been a very pivotal game for the Chicago Bears this season. If you look at their schedule, their remaining schedule, of course, we have Arizona and New England, and then the divisional games start. So those are 6 very difficult games. And then the San Francisco 49ers on the road and Seattle at home. And you got to start to think, probably going to need 10 wins to make it into the playoffs, maybe. And when you start looking at the schedule, you really start to doubt their ability to be able to do that. So, I don't know. I think at the end of the year, we could be looking back on this game and saying this was kind of a turning point where they had a 3-game win streak. They had this game in their grasp, and they just let him off the hook, frankly. I mean, it was a freak play, but if Tyreek Stevenson is boxing out Noah Brown like he was supposed to be, instead of when Jaden Daniels threw that ball, he was still on the numbers on the left side of the field, 10, 15 yards from the closest player. And then what he did was instinctually he says, "Oh, I'm going to run and try to make a play on the ball," which if you're out of position, that's probably the best thing he thought he could do. But if your responsibility in that situation is to box out a specific wide receiver to make sure that if there is a tip, that you're in front of that guy so he can't make that completion, or he makes it much more difficult. I mean, it's a pretty glaring breakdown. And yeah, he apologized, but that really took a win away from this organization that could make or break our playoff chances later in the year. The offense, I think Caleb had 30 passing yards going into the fourth quarter.
That was tough.
That just, it can't happen. And
our line,
the defense, the red zone defense was excellent, but they were letting them get to the red zone almost every drive. There wasn't any – it wasn't as good of a defensive show that we had seen up to this point in the year. So, it was not the Bears' best game. I think that this team still has the potential to be a playoff team, but they're going to need to play a lot better football. And, progress isn't always a straight upward trajectory. So there's going to be ups and downs in an NFL season. Obviously, this is a down point, but they're going to have to bounce back this week against an Arizona team that's put a couple wins together at this point. They're in a tight divisional race in the NFC West. I think they're tied for the lead at 4-4 with two other teams, and then you got the Rams at 3-5 that are getting healthy. So, it's a home game for Arizona. They're going to be hungry for another win. They know that they're in a similar position to us. Probably think that they might be a wild card team trying to get to 10 wins themselves, and they're sitting at 4 wins just like we are. So, hopefully Jaquan Brisker is going to come back. Hopefully Kyler Gordon will come back. I'm not sure if that's in the cards this week, but I would think that it is, at least for Brisker for sure. I'm not sure on Kyler Gordon's injury.
Looks like I took a screenshot. This is from 670 in Chicago. Defensive end, Montez Sweat. Shin, Kyler Gordon, hamstring. Safety, Jaquan Brisker, concussion. Braxton Jones, knee. Kyron Amangaji, I can't say his name, calf. We're out today. But
all those guys?
It is a Wednesday, so.
Yeah, I mean, another thing offensively, obviously, is the offensive line. A lot of guys are banged up.
And then we got the actor on IR now.
Bill Murray's on IR.
Yeah.
Yep. He was kind of one of those pieces that we could count on to come in and fill a role if one of those guys went down. I know Tevin Jenkins is banged up. Braxton Jones is banged up, obviously. The rookie came in at left tackle. He did some I think I want to say his PFF passing grade was in like the 30s, pass protection grade.
Wasn't ready.
That's going to be if you're the Arizona Cardinals, you're probably licking your chops right now looking at that tape, because he was exposed on a couple occasions on basic stuff where, like Romo pointed out, like if they're sending 2 guys at you, you cannot let somebody go by your inside shoulder. Like you can't do it. You take that guy and you let the outside guy free, and he did it on multiple occasions where his instincts didn't. He's a book smart guy, but he's not street smart. Like you went to Yale, you should have gone to the school of hard knocks. Okay. Shut that shit off. Yeah. But he wasn't doing it. And if you're the Cardinals, you're probably licking your chops right now, because it looks like Braxton's going to probably be out for a week or two. I think that it was originally feared that it could have been like a serious knee injury, but it sounds like it's not as serious as they thought it was going to be. But with Amagaji, I might be mispronouncing that. Apologies if I am. If they don't figure something out, that is going to be an issue with how dinged up the rest of the line is. It's not like there's somebody waiting on the bench to come and save the day for you. Like we are, like you are the last line of defense now. So like they're gonna have to figure something out. And quite frankly, there are teams and coordinators that I would trust to be able to scheme and cover up deficiencies like that. Waldron is not that guy. He's shown it in games where he will not slide protection. He will not put it back on that side to chip tight end. He won't do it. He'll just blinders on just let the same thing continue to happen. So the one thing that's I'm trying to keep at the forefront of my mind is it is a young team. They are going to be streaky at points. It is, and that goes in game and week to week. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a little bit of a slide. I'm hoping that's not the case, but Jesse pointed out, Cardinals are playing well right now. So this is going to be a team that is ready to come in and get another win. They are very dangerous offensively, a lot of weapons, and the defense is scrappy enough to keep them in games. They've shown that. So, Tom, any final notes from you on the Bears before we move over to picks?
We've covered most of the stuff I was thinking about. I think I went through the 5 stages of grief or whatever it's called in that game, because like Caleb looked great in the fourth quarter. We had 2 opportunities to score. Just destroyed the chances on one with a fumble and then scored in the other one. But, like, we should have won that game. And once we scored and we got the 2-point conversion, I was high, man. I was like, okay, yeah.
No one jinxed us.
Even a field goal, they got to get a touchdown. Okay. Then we don't play any defense. And this is the point, like, I kind of want to get across here is the coaching at the end of the game was just so – and, like, Eberflus's comments, like, the locker room as I said last week that the locker room was good. This game just blew it all out of the water. Like, we are not good. And that was the only thing was going for us. Like, we were playing well, the locker room was good, and for him to just make these comments after the game, and like the 15-yard play before the Hail Mary, like for him to not think that was a thing, like Jaden couldn't get it to the end zone if we were playing defense, and then we were spying with the linebacker, like, whoa. What are we spying for? Go and get him. I don't know if that might not.
No, Tom. I mean, that is a very valid point. There's obviously multiple schools of thought, but the two primary ones in this case are rush 3 and put everybody in, at the goal line and knock the ball down.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was.
So we did both of those things. We put everybody at the goal line and rush 3 minus one guy who was talking to people in the crowd.
Yeah,
and
I didn't even know that was. I was telling Lindy, I was like, "Why aren't we trying to get to the quarterback like at all? We're like acting like we're just dead tired. Like this is the end of the game, last play. There's
go 3 guys rushing and 5 guys in pass protection. I mean,
and then a spy, and then a guy taunting the fans. And I was telling Lindy, I didn't even know Tyreek was doing this at the time, and I was like. What?
Well, you couldn't really see it on the broadcast.
No,
I didn't see it on the broadcast.
No,
I only saw it after the game. That was a true kick and
yeah, like it was. I think I saw
just see that on social media. That one hurt.
I think it was the next morning because I went dark that night. I went on a drive. It was bad. Like I couldn't watch Sunday Night Football.
Tom was driving around out in the country with no headlights on, pitch black, going like triple digits.
I was actually hurt, and I just wanted to, those two. It's not just the Hail Mary and just the comments in the locker room, and Cole Kmet saying, or multiple players saying that, we're not working hard enough in practice, or we're not trying, like we're taking plays off, and like that's coaching. And that's not an atmosphere, a culture that we're not. I thought we had, and this week we don't have it. So moving forward, this is pivotal. Next game,
the panic meter's starting to.
Yeah, and I understand we're a young team. But like, if it's coaching, which it seems like it may be, and we've been kind of talking about it all season long. And then we played some bad teams. We're looking good. And now we play a decent team, and we really lay an egg, like you said. And
well, you know what?
I think we're good enough to compete with these teams. Like
silver lining, and this kind of ties in with what you're saying, Tom, is this is now like we're far enough in the season to say that the Commanders, especially with Daniels in the game, that is an elite offense. They play to their strengths. They protect him. I was expecting them to just be like, do not run the ball. They said, fuck it. We don't care if you're dinged up. Use your skill set. Go get first downs. And he did. By God, I mean, we could not get him on third down.
At least 3 occasions where he just juked our linebacker. Got to
you guys. That was the play I was going to bring up. The one where he absolutely.
I think it's TJ Edwards.
It was TJ Edwards. Yeah. One of probably our best tackler on
broke
the
his
team.
legs. Both of them.
Yeah, and McLaurin is a legitimate deep ball threat. They've got Robinson and Eckler. Zach Ertz, veteran tight end, kind of safety valve. This McCaffrey kid seems like he's a chip off the old block, like just a smart football player. And the point I'm trying to get at here is we shut their asses down for 3 quarters, and despite not doing anything on offense and keeping the defense was on the field, it seemed like every 30 seconds, and they held up and kept them to field goals for three quarters.
Yeah, I want to say that
that says something.
They had quite a bit of yards.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels almost had 400 total yards. He had like 320 passing yards and 60 rushing yards, I want to say.
But we kept him out of the end zone.
Yeah, but the offense is going to feed off some more 3-and-outs, especially early in the game if they're having a slow start. Like, I think the defense, they didn't play as well.
It just seems unfair to ask of. Like, it's a bend don't break type league. Like, look at the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs are sometimes like that, where they'll give up points all game. Fourth quarter, they shut the shit off. No more. And that's when you need to do it. And if you can do it in those opportune moments, whether they be third down in the last 2 minutes of the first half, last 2 minutes of the game, fourth quarter, if you're letting them go up and down the field, who gives a shit if they got 500 yards? It's about the points on the scoreboard, and they had the lead with however many minutes left in the game, and the defense was just there time and time again to make the stop when they needed to, and the offense just couldn't do anything for them. And then Tyreek Stevenson decided to take off the most important play of the game. But with all that being said, we continue to further analyze this. I think it's best we probably just move on and get into some picks. Are we going to roll straight into the picks today, or are we going to break it out into two?
Nope, we're gonna have a new recording for that one. So like and subscribe. We will be right back with our Week 9 picks against the spread.
See you soon.